throughout the season, this is who Lionel Scaloni has chosen. Compared to some of the other big teams, Witty, there weren't as many surprises in this one. Were there any names that jumped out to you that perhaps should have been on the plane?
Yeah, there are two that we'll dig into, one of which we'll dig into more later. But the two were Franco Mastantuono, who has gotten some minutes with Argentina over the course of qualifying, but clearly fell off over the course of the season. By the way, you look at that transfer window for Real Madrid last summer. They signed two Spanish internationals, Hausen and Carreras. Neither of them made it. They signed Trent Alexander-Arnold. He didn't make it for England. And they signed Mastantuono, and he didn't make it for Argentina. So he's definitely a big one. And the other is Marco Senesi, the defender for Bournemouth. Soon, we think he's on his way to Tottenham, but he had a fantastic season in the Premier League. And again, especially considering some of the defenders they do take instead, I'm a little bit surprised that he's not involved.
Absolutely stacked when you look at this squad. And obviously Messi will be competing in his 6th World Cup. We look forward to watching that. Now, we set you a bit of homework, didn't we, for the show today? We got you to choose your pros and cons.
I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the tournament it was Giuliano. And then the last one is, of course, the high-level center forward play that they have in this group. Obviously, it'll begin with Julian Alvarez, who does so much running, has been so creative for Atleti and for Argentina. But let's not forget, Lionel Martinez was the one who scored the winning goal in the Copa America final in the summer of 2024. He can absolutely come in and make an impact as well. This is what Argentina do. They produce high-level center forwards.
I just wanted to pick up on that first one. I completely agree with you. Continuity, I think in this case is a great thing and absolutely a pro. But we have seen it in the past with national sides when there isn't that much churn. And you're sort of sticking with players. Obviously, Angel Di Maria is ancient and he clearly was going to move on and retire from international football. But some of the others are getting a little bit on the older side. And we have seen in the past for national sides where not enough churn can sometimes be a bad thing as well.
Should we just go straight into the cons? Let's go straight into the cons. Can we put up the graphic here?
Did you choose that?
Yeah, so let's go to the cons. Too much continuity. The only starter from the 22 final not on the roster is Angel Di Maria. I took the exact same, and this is sort of one of those things where basically the result will determine whether or not continuity was great or continuity was bad.
Either you're a genius or an idiot, basically.
Right, exactly. You look at some of the players that can easily, I think, be found wanting this tournament. Nicolas Otamendi can definitely be one in center defense. I am shocked when we mentioned Senesi earlier that Otamendi does make it and might even start in some of these games. I think Rodrigo De Paul, I was watching some video on them last night. In qualifying, he still looked like the Rodrigo De Paul. They have to hope that some of the De Paul that we've seen for Inter Miami in the last 12 months is not that player, because he has had some bad performances in MLS for Inter Miami. They have to hope it's the very best De Paul, if continuity. The only starter from the 2022 World Cup final that is not in the squad is Angel Di Maria, who of course retired after the Copa America last summer. And you can basically say a lot of that team that started that final will probably start on opening day. They have that level of continuity where you can very clearly see the way that Scaloni built that team over time. And he basically said, Messi can go win us the game. Everyone else around him needs to run for him. And I think that's kind of similar to what they're going to do. We'll see Enzo Fernandez maybe play in a little bit more of an advanced role. We saw Paredes play a fair bit in that sort of holding role, but Julian Alvarez up front does a lot of running. Thiago Almada on the left side does a lot of running. He might be one of the new players that comes in for Di Maria. The second one for me is I really like, in terms of a difference, the player who I actually think stands to make the biggest impact in attacking positions is probably Giuliano Simeone, because of the way that he has evolved over the last 2 seasons with Atletico Madrid. I think he's a perfect player that fits right into that ethos, playing for his father at Atleti, incredibly energetic, incredibly difficult to play against. And one of the things you hear opposition coaches say about him is the guy just never stops running. And so this is a perfect fit, I think, into this squad. Right now, with a better central defensive option, especially when it's there. It's not like you're trying to invent a player. He had a great season. He's playing at a high level for a good club. I don't understand how Senesi doesn't make this squad. If even as an option, maybe Otamendi has a shocker in the group stage and you can pick him. Instead, you're turning to Lisandro Martinez, who over the course of the last few years has been an injury machine for Manchester United. He hasn't been able to stay fit. We're talking about playing in the American summer. I'm genuinely shocked that he's not in there as a member of this defensive group, because I think they need another number. And then the third one is, we'll say, big shoes to fill. And I think when I look at the group that is to come, that sort of next generation of player, I'm left a little bit wanting, because Argentina going into the World Cup in 2030 will not have some of these players that we've talked about. Who's going to step up and actually take on the role of being the leader for Argentina in 4 years' time? The most obvious candidate, in my view, is Nico Paz, because he's been so good for Como. It could be off to Real Madrid. But we have Thiago Almada up on the screen because I think he's going to play at this tournament. You watch them play. I watched the highlights of their game against Colombia and against Brazil. he's the one that's combining with Messi. He's the one that's playing off the left, that's doing a lot of work. He's actually very good in those games. And Almada, when he signed for Atlanta United from South America, he was the record transfer in MLS because the thinking was, this is the next guy for Argentina. His career has stagnated pretty significantly, both in Major League Soccer and when he's gone to Europe with, I had a good time of it at Botafogo, but Atleti has not kicked on. The Atleti fans are kind of thinking, that was kind of a bad transfer. We might have wasted some money there. And he's going to be a regular starter for Argentina off the left, that this is that kind of next level, high level Argentina player. So I'm worried, based on what we see of who's going to start and who could come on, that there aren't enough players for the future in this group.
Yeah, and that is one of the limitations of having a team that's designed all about the star Messi.
Yes.
When he's gone, what are you, right. It's almost like you're making a beautiful meal for no one there.
Well, and also, it's such a difficult thing for whoever that person is. It's the guy after the guy. It's David Moyes taking over for Sir Alex. It's how many different legendary replacements that someone has to wear the number 10 shirt for Argentina in the future. And I feel terrible for them because that person is going to have a level of expectation that is simply unreasonable. I actually kind of think, not that he's Messi, but I think that Nico Paz can be up to it. Can be up to the job of being that leader, but how much are we going to see him in this tournament playing with Messi or off of Messi, or if Messi can't play in some games, maybe they rotate at certain points and maybe Nico Paz can be that guy. But otherwise, I don't know. I'm scared for what the future looks like for them.
Will they win it again? We'll have to wait and see.
He could very easily be replaced
squad,
by Juliano Simeone in the team. And the most obvious one is Messi. Because Messi, we see him in MLS every week, still looking his absolute best. Is that 3 games in the group stage, round of 32, round of 16, quarterfinals, 8 games in a little over a month for him to deliver that level as a match-winning player at, close to 39 years old? Can he do that at this level? Because the team is still very much built around him. And we talk about it with Ronaldo and Portugal. And so it's only fair we talk about it with Messi and Argentina. They still had a great qualifying campaign. They still won 3 consecutive tournaments. But is it now to the point where relying on him to win the thing is now just a little bit beyond him? And there clearly isn't a player, I don't think, in the squad that's going to take him over. Let's go then to the second con of this group. We mentioned Senesi already. He's on his way, we think, to Tottenham. He was brilliant this season for AFC Bournemouth in the Premier League. I don't understand, and this is where I think it's sort of the two conversations tying into one another, how Nicolas Otamendi is making it ahead of Marcos Lloris. I just don't understand. I thought in 2022, when they picked him and he was a regular starter, I don't know, maybe you're going a little bit past Otamendi sell-by date. How have
I haven't even thought about it.
Oh, I know. Everyone think on it. Nada marinate on it.
I mean,
Flo Balogun.
no, that's not going to be it. You know, sometimes we think a name like Kylian Mbappe would come up, right?
Yeah.
And you think logically France is going to go the furthest, or
Spain.
Or Spain, or Argentina, or so on and so forth. We can have that conversation. But in the World Cup, usually, you'll have, and especially in this World Cup, where you're going to have some teams that don't quite have the level. All you need is a striker to have a big day. And I mentioned this on the day of the World Cup draw. Oleg Salenko in the World Cup in 1994, he was playing for Russia, scored 5 goals against Cameroon. Ends up being leading goal scorer in that World Cup because, well, he scored 5 goals in one match against Cameroon. And I think that could happen very much so in this World Cup, in which you get a striker on a big day against lesser opposition that may score 4 or 5 goals, rack it up, and they get themselves, even if the team doesn't advance, then they make it to the round of 32, round of 16. He's going home with 8 goals, and he ends up becoming the leading goal scorer. So I've given you no answer because I'm not prepared to say who that player will be.
Well, according to the odds, Kylian Mbappe is the favorite, and Harry Kane didn't make it. But you know what? Curacão's first game is against Germany, and let me tell you, I'm very happy. I don't have to see Jamaica line up. Actually, Jamaica played in the Unity Cup today over in the UK, and we beat India. So I'll take that.
Or cricket.
No, football. I'll take that. I will take that. You know, you can take what you can these days, but whatever. Final question. Still not over it. You guys have said that this is a down year for the Premier League, but Aston Villa and Crystal Palace both won European silverware, so maybe it's not so bad? Stevie?
I think the consensus was that there wasn't as many good games in the season. That was the consensus. I think all that the European games have shown is that the league
throw a
in
name in the ring.
Erling Haaland.
All right, Erling Haaland, he's 4th favorite. Nadam?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think Ali makes that great point about, say, one of these games setting somebody up to sort of finish as that top scorer, because it'll probably be done with maybe 6 goals or something like that. So now you look at the teams who we perceive to be weaker, and this is all due respect to them. Like, how are Curacao going to perform at this World Cup? How are Cape Verde going to perform at this World Cup? We're not 100% sure. With all due respect to the people from all those nations, I hold my hands up and I apologise. But I get the feeling the top overall score might come from one of those two groups anyway. Let's say that.
Curacao still at the World Cup.
Why is that? Well, are you okay?
Because Jamaica didn't make it. But do you know what? Curaçao's first game is against Germany, and let me tell you, I am very